The dry-in, which is your underlayment, and we will dry it in, and then also we will be putting drip edge on, followed by a starter shingle, and then also the shingles themselves. And as we're going along, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. If there's something that I'm not.
Like you guys care about safety.
Yes, sir.
Always safety first, please.
Yes,
never.
The other part of the equation is meeting the requirements by OSHA. Does anybody know what OSHA stands for?
I don't know. Security on construction, something like that.
Occupational Safety and Health Association, I believe that is. Hazard Association. OSHA travels around in government vehicles and looks for violations.
Yeah.
So when you're going on a ladder, you always want 3 points of contact on a ladder, which means at least 2 feet and 1 hand, or 2 hands and 1 foot as you're going up the ladder, all right? 3 points of contact always on a ladder. 95% of roofing accidents happen on a ladder. Not really when you're on the roof, but on the ladder. So ladder safety is very important. It's something that we review on at least a quarterly basis to make sure that we are safety first, as Javier mentioned. Okay, so we have the transition metal in, and now we can start to put the underlayment down. The fasteners we typically use with underlayment would either be a staple or cap nails. In this, for demonstration purposes, we're using staples.
What is that called again?
That's called underlayment. It's a 15-pound felt underlayment.
Stapling it.
Yes. So when we're putting felt underlayment down, you start at the bottom and work your way up. Obviously, water takes the path of least resistance, and so we want to make sure that we're lapping from the bottom up, and building code requires a 4-inch lap on our underlayment. So when Jose puts this second piece on, we're gonna lap it at least the 4 inches so that we either meet or exceed what building code and the manufacturer requires. If you look closely, they've got lines so that you can make sure and align your underlayment straight, and you can also utilize it for the lap and making sure, once again, that you're meeting building code and the manufacturer's requirements. So right now he's putting on the metal drip edge. The metal drip edge actually serves two purposes. One is primarily to protect the fascia. So this is your fascia, right? So he's putting on the metal, he's cut it in a spot where he can actually bend that at a 90 and it's nice and clean. Okay, he's going to fasten it now. So that's the primary line of, I call it defense. Again, if the fascia is subjected to rain, sun, eventually, and I'm sure you've seen it if you look at any home around town with the Arizona sun, fascia will just, it's wood, and it just gets beat up and it rots. And so the metal, you can see it, this, it's got a piece that cuts out at a 45. So as water comes down, it wicks it out and away from the fascia.
Ooh.
So it's every piece of drip edge overlap.
Correct. So to meet building code, we have to actually, when we put this metal on, you want to lap by a minimum of 2 inches. You can go really as much as you want, but at least a minimum of 2 inches on the lap.
I'm taking notes. Recording. Storage.
Any questions? Okay. All future roofers, right?
Yeah.
Anybody have any idea what a good journeyman roofer can make on an annual basis?
6 figures, right?
35
Good one
hours.
could, absolutely.
Oh, really?
If they're staying busy, they can. Typically, they're going to make anywhere from 65 to 85,000 a year.
A year?
Yeah, and it's nice to, you know, you do your job and you go home and you're not worried about, you know, who's making payroll and things like that. You know, all the fun of owning a business. But hopefully that's where, you know, you guys, your thought process is, you know, the roofing career itself can last a lifetime, but, you know, for the most part, after, you know, 20 years in the hot sun, hopefully you've got your mind set to maybe own a roofing company, right? There's a lot of reward in owning, there's a lot of risk, but there's also a lot of reward in owning any company, right?
Right.
Same for roofing. Every day I worry about these guys falling through a roof. You know?
You work when it rains out?
Not if we have to. Mostly no, yeah, that's, you know, obviously opening up a roof or working on a roof, rain increases not only the opportunity for damage on the interior, but also a hazard while working. You could fall off the roof that much easier, so we let the rain pass. Thankfully in Arizona it doesn't rain a whole lot, so, you know, our guys work, they get quite a bit of work. We keep them busy. As you can see, Jose is trimming the felt, you know, giving it a nice clean edge. It's not necessary. I mean, you you can also, cut it to where you can fold it over. You just want to make sure that if you do fold it over a little, that obviously your metal covers that. But this is the way we do it. Just like I said, a nice clean edge. You notice when he gets on and off the ladder, he is keeping the 3 points of contact on there. And if you look over here, again, he's sliding the underlayment underneath versus on top, because we want the underlayment to lap so that water, if it got to the underlayment, would not get underneath and onto the plywood.
I'm gonna have to go over about the cutting.
So we did, okay, so if you look at these angles, okay, bending the metal, is not difficult when all you're using is the 90, but on this side, obviously we've got more of an angle of about 120 degrees versus 90s or 45s, and the metal is bent at a 90-degree angle. So what we did is we ran over to the shop real quick and bent this as best we could to meet this so that the metal lays flat. So now when Jose, when he bends this metal around, everything will lay nice and tight, and then it will cover right here and lap the proper way. We're not going to tuck it underneath, but we'll have it go over.
I take my notes, man.
So when we talk about, again, meeting manufacturer requirements and building code, for the purpose of the demonstration, we went with 1/2-inch nails just so that we are not blowing through the plywood, so that you can continually reuse it. But both the manufacturer and building code requires that you actually perforate the plywood. And so what we mean by that is that the nail goes through and goes through a minimum of 3/8 of an inch. So you're supposed to perforate that. So if you haven't been in an attic, if you were to go in an attic, you would see that those nails are popping through, and you can very easily cut your head if you're not wearing a hard hat or anything like that. And the manufacturer requires that as well. They want to make sure that the nails are going all the way through the plywood. Again, for demonstration purposes here, we're just using a 1/2 inch nail so as to be able to reuse the plywood again and again. Always remember, when you're handling metal, wear gloves, sharp edges, they'll cut your hands up. So if you want to come around to this side, or you can wait until he moves over to that side, you can see how he has bent the metal. Wrap over this. You can also see that Jose is marking his where he's making his cuts. In construction, we always say measure twice and cut once, because you don't want to make a mistake and waste a whole piece of metal. Might not seem like a lot of money, but at $13 or $15 for 10 feet, you know, it's about $1.50 a foot that you could end up wasting. The other tools of the trade that to increase production and make things well, not only easier but faster on in roofing is the use of hydraulic tool or pneumatic tools that are all driven by an air compressor. Okay, so he can nail much faster. Again, most roofers typically get paid what we call piece rate or by the square. And so their goal is to try and install as many squares as possible in an hour's time. Once he gets this piece of metal on, he will be done with what we call the dry end. In other words, it could rain and this roof is watertight now. It's not going to leak. So we're just gonna kind of get it started, and then we're gonna leave this open, and then we'll finish it. That way they have an example. All right, so Jose's finished the dry-in portion. Again, like I said, if it were to rain, this roof is watertight, it's not gonna leak. And now we wanna start to roof, and building code and manufacturer's requirements for a shingle roof are to use a starter shingle. The purpose of the starter shingle is actually to provide an offset at the eave so that as water makes its way down the roof, and you don't want an alignment of the shingles, and so this is a layer of protection, because once we put the shingles on, we're going to have an offset with the starter piece so that water does not find its way underneath the metal right here, okay? So we're going to start with that starter shingle, and we install it on both the eave, and this is what we call the rake, okay? Manufacturer's requirements on the starter shingle are to be anywhere from 3/8 to 3/4 of an overhang. This is also another way of protecting the fascia, because as water wicks down, it comes underneath here and then it hits this drip edge and then rolls off. Again, keeping water off the wood.
Same material as the shingle?
It just doesn't have the colored granules adhered to it, but it's a fiberglass mat.
They rip right now?
Yes, there's some that don't, but this particular brand that we use has a pre-cut starter.
So is there an overlap there, or is it?
No, it's even right there.
Again, sometimes people skip that, save money.
Yes. And so for wind warranty with the manufacturer, that's a requirement to go up the raise.
I'm glad you did that. Well, because it's always windstorms here, and then or the golly insurance company.
So this is actually a sealant strip. So the question was, do we have the black lines go around the outside, right? This is actually a sealant strip, okay? So when we put a shingle down, it's gonna adhere right away to this. I mean, we put a shingle down within 10 minutes, you won't be able to peel it off, okay? Now you'll notice when we put the shingles on tomorrow, it's got the same sealant strip on the shingle itself, so that as you overlap them or lay them out, they're gonna stick together. 10 minutes, even faster during the summer when it's really hot. I mean, as soon as you put it down, they're gonna stick.